All right, week 13 in the NFL, and last week, week 12, boy, what an exciting week. But let's start off with the different ways that you can find me. We have Twitter, betting underscore home 87. That's a good way to communicate with me if you want to know something about the podcast. We're doing YouTube. So far, I've been getting the most traffic on YouTube. I'm going to work on improving the YouTube channel a little bit there. YouTube, betting from home, all the podcast apps, Spotify, and all that stuff. Betting from home. If you want to find me, follow me. Tell me how you found me, and that'd be cool. If I can get some feedback on the show, that'd be even better. But I'm gaining a little bit of a crowd. I'm getting some views on YouTube and stuff like that, so that's fun. Anyways, going into week 13 of the NFL, there are a lot of games that I felt just decent about. I did find some 5 best bets. Last week I was 4-0 on my best bets. I had Arizona over New England, Miami to beat the Jets by 7, Cleveland +7, and Seattle -5.5. So it's kind of good. It feels good to win by 4 bets that I feel the most proud about. Hopefully, I can keep up that streak. My middle bets, I didn't do as well there, but it's a little bit harder to, that's why I make them the middle bets. And then the stayaways I didn't even look at, but let's kind of get into what week 13 is going to be all about. All right, my first one. I'm going to start off with my best bets, and the first one I'm going to go with is the New Orleans and Atlanta game. New Orleans and Atlanta game. My bet here is going to be under the 51 points. Originally, you're going to look at this game. If you've been watching the NFL this year, you would be thinking that Atlanta has a bad defense. They don't know how to stop anybody. But on the last 5 games, okay, the interesting point here is on the last 5 games, Atlanta's holding teams to 19.8 points, and New Orleans is holding teams to 10.2 points. So we're at just under 20 and just over 10 points. So both defenses are coming up. I understand New Orleans just played Denver with no quarterback, so you do have to take that into a little bit of consideration. So even if you add another 7 points to that, both defenses are holding teams to really low scores. So in the last 5, you have New Orleans. They beat Denver 31-3, Atlanta 24-9, San Francisco 27-13, Tampa Bay 38-3, and they won in overtime versus the Bears 26-3. They didn't put the best teams, but they're holding these teams to low scores. Then Atlanta holding Las Vegas to 6. They lost to New Orleans but they did hold them to 24 in that game. 27 for Denver with quarterbacks. Carolina 17 and Detroit 22. So Atlanta's defense is not as good as New Orleans, but I feel like they're kind of catching a stride here. You do want to keep in mind that New Orleans does have a pretty good offense, but they are going again with Taysom Hill, who has yet to throw a touchdown in the 2 games that he played. He didn't even throw a touchdown versus Denver. He did only end up with, I believe it was 78 yards of total offense for Taysom Hill versus Denver. And then New Orleans, he got somewhere around 233 yards. So you want to take into consideration, even though New Orleans is a good team, they are using their backup quarterback in Taysom Hill, who is showing that he is good. He's finding a little trouble getting into the end zone with his arm, but he did throw 1 interception. Atlanta seems to have a little bit better luck scoring than you would think. Are they a powerhouse offense? No. But are they a bad offense? No. So right now the over-under, I have it at 47.5. I actually think this is going to be like a 2017 game. If it did go over, I wouldn't be completely surprised. They'd like New Orleans totally dominates this game. I do think New Orleans is going to win, but even if they dominate the game, Atlanta are a good team. I think, though, this is going to end up being a scrappy game. I don't want to counteract my points, my 2 main points too much here. I'm going with the under as my first bet that I like, a best bet or best bets. And then we're going to go straight down to Seattle, minus 10 over the New York Giants. Seattle is a good team. I like them a lot, especially versus the Giants. The Giants are easily a bad team. Once again, just looking at the last 5 games, the Giants have won 3 games in a row, but scoring 19, 27, and 23 points. So they're actually kind of coming up with low scores, and that was versus Cincinnati, Philly, and Washington. So versus bad teams, they've kind of gripped onto a 3-game winning streak here. Seattle, the last 5, they're 3 for the last 5. They're 3 for the last 5, beating Philadelphia, Arizona, and San Francisco, which aren't the best teams, but they consistently score a little bit higher. Well, it's been a little bit lower versus just kind of resetting my thoughts here. So Seattle has the ability to score higher points. I think that versus the New York Giants, Russell Wilson and Seattle's going to kind of recapture their groove. The Giants defense has held the other teams to 17, 17, and 20 versus Cincinnati, Philly, and Washington. It's not going to be as easy versus Seattle. It's a much better scoring team. It's a more rounded team. So I do like Seattle to win by the 10 points. Which I know it's a double digit spread, but I feel like Seattle's just gonna handle the Giants here. The Giants are one of my least favorite teams, and I it's one of those gut feelings I'm going with here. The next one going down is Green Bay is going to just destroy Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a bad team. Carson Wentz is struggling this year with 16 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. Boy, oh boy, that is just downright horrible. On the flip side, Aaron Rodgers is 33 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. He pretty much just destroyed the Bears last week. I'm kind of counting the Bears out for the rest of the season. Who knows with that? Going back to this Green Bay Philadelphia game, I think they easily do better than 9 points. They beat the spread. Just kind of going back, I've been kind of just looking at the last 5 games recently. Philly has lost. Philly has lost the last 5 games 23-17, 22-17, 27-17. So that's kind of where I'm going off of a trend. And that was versus Seattle, Cleveland, and the Giants. Green Bay, on the other hand, beat the Bears 41-25, and that's not even really what the score reflects. The Bears honestly could have only scored 3 points that entire game. I kind of feel like Green Bay almost let them score those points. Green Bay did lose to Indianapolis, but they were able to score 31 points. That was an overtime game. They beat Jacksonville and San Francisco 24-20, and San Francisco 34-17. I kind of feel like when Green Bay really needs to score, they score. And I think they're going to jump out early versus Philly, and it's going to look kind of like another game that they just play. Like I said, they beat the Bears. I think Green Bay is going to continue to look kind of like Green Bay, like when they started the season, they were just trampling teams. And I think they're going to turn it on for the last 3 weeks of the season, 3 or 4 weeks of the season here. And I think Green Bay is going to really try and claim a top spot in the playoffs. Will they be the number 1 contender? I'm not sure if they'll win that bye. That's a whole other bet. They're definitely going to win the division. It should be fun watching Green Bay, even being a Bears fan. I think it'd be fun to watch Green Bay. Gotta respect that rivalry. You respect a team like Green Bay, even as a Bears fan, you gotta respect them and just kind of enjoy watching them, even though you would prefer the Bears to be on top. Indianapolis winning by 3 over Houston is my next best bet. Indianapolis has a really good defense, and Houston, even though that they've kind of won a few games here, I think a bunch of people are going to look at these last few games. In the last 5, Houston won 3 of our last 5 versus Detroit, New England, and Jacksonville. Detroit, New England, and Jacksonville all have one thing in common, that they're actually not that good of a team. They did score 41 points versus Detroit, but Detroit recently just fired like everybody. And I kind of feel like they're going to go downhill. The Colts, The Colts also winning the 3 of the last 5, but they beat Green Bay, Tennessee, and destroyed Detroit. Which was one of the common. Is actually both 41-25. Good job. Nope. The Colts held Detroit 21. So, but when you beat teams like Green Bay and Tennessee, those are 2 legit teams. Indianapolis did lose to Tennessee recently, 45-26, but I think all teams kind of stumble every once in a while. So I'm actually gonna keep Indianapolis on the better side of the ball, and Houston is kind of downtrending, even though they're winning. Even though they're winning a couple of games here, I just feel like, then they lose. Houston will lose a game versus Cleveland 10-7, and it's kind of like, what is going on there? I think we're going to stick with a more solid rounded team. Indianapolis -3 is going to be my final best bet of this week. Going down to the ones, kind of a middle bet or second best bet. Cleveland +5.5 versus Tennessee. So Cleveland, the one thing that I kind of took from this matchup is that Cleveland has won 4 of their last 5 games. They beat Jacksonville 27-25, Philly 22-17, Houston 10-7, and Cincinnati 37-34. If you notice there, all those are within 5. Within 3, 5. I mean, it's just kind of like 2. I mean, Cleveland keeps it close. And then if you look at the Tennessee games, I mean, they beat Indianapolis 45-26, which I know is kind of a blowout. But then if you look at the next one, they beat Baltimore 30-24. They beat Chicago 24-17. They lost to Indianapolis 34-17, which is kind of a big loss there. I feel like they're inconsistent, but they're kind of keeping it close there. I'm kind of going with another gut feeling that Cleveland keep this game within 5.5. I almost think they might win versus Tennessee. You just kind of get these feelings. You look at a game. I immediately looked at the game and said, I kind of think Cleveland is going to keep up with Tennessee. At least keep it within the 5.5. The only thing that worries me is that the 5.5 is under a touchdown. I would kind of like it if they had +6 or +6.5, but I feel solid enough +5.5. But that's also kind of why I put it in the middle. Moving on down to Cincinnati +11.5 versus Miami. That is a double digit spread, which I do like to take plus the points when it goes into double digits. Cincinnati's another team that's keeping games a little bit close. They lost 4 of their last 5 games to the Giants, Washington, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland. Versus bad teams, though, they lost by 2. They lost by 11 there. They lost by 26 to Cleveland. Although that's versus Tennessee, or that's versus Pittsburgh. So versus the Giants, Washington, and Cleveland, they kept it close. Last time they played Cleveland, they kept it close, 37-34. So versus the bad teams, they're keeping it close. So is Miami a good team or a bad team? Miami won 4 of their last 5 versus the Jets, which is expected, but they only scored 20 points versus the Jets. The Chargers, Arizona, and Los Angeles Rams. So do I think that Miami wins this game? Absolutely. Do they win by 11.5? I'm willing to roll the dice that Cincinnati somehow keeps this within 11.5 points. Miami doesn't usually win by double digits, except versus the Jets, but they only scored 20, and you would almost expect them to score like way more than that because the Jets are terrible. Los Angeles Chargers, decent team. They kept it within. They only won by 8 versus Arizona. Arizona is a good team. They only won by 3. In Los Angeles Rams, they won by 11. So it's right there on that border. Kind of moving down to the next second best bet game here. Denver, Kansas City. I like the over. And you kind of first think, well, Dave, how in the world are you going to get an over versus Denver and Kansas City? And honestly, it's because I think Kansas City gets at least 30, 35 points. And it's over 51.5. Denver does have their quarterbacks back. Denver. Denver does have their quarterbacks back. And in the last 5, so you got to kind of subtract the last game when they didn't have quarterbacks. They still scored 20 versus Miami. They scored 27 versus Atlanta. They beat the Chargers 30-31. So Denver has the ability to put up some good points here. And honestly, you're only really looking for Denver to put up like 20 points. And I think Kansas City will take you the rest of the way at 51.5. It's actually not too far-fetched that Kansas City just scores 40 and Denver only has to come up with 10 or 11 points. So I'm actually kind of looking for Kansas City to just turn it on and destroy Denver, then whatever type of points that Denver gets is just kind of gravy. It's just kind of gravy in there. So if we subtract the New Orleans game, Denver has scored 20, 12, 34. I'm sorry, 27. Let's restart that. Denver has scored minus the New Orleans game where they didn't have a quarterback. Denver has scored 20, 12, 27, 31, and 16. So that's kind of the last 5. So I'm kind of expecting Kansas City to just destroy. Last time they played, they won 43-16, which would put you over that 51 points. So we're not really asking Denver to do much. And Kansas City is a powerhouse offense that can kind of win this over 51.5 points for you. Minnesota. Oh, and one thing I want to point: the stay away on the spread on the Denver Kansas City game. the 14-point spread is it's kind of, in my mind, a teaser. It's a teaser spread. Like I said, I do kind of expect Kansas City to blow out Denver completely. Well, let's just say Denver gets 20, 25. Let's say they get 24 points. 30-24, it's 6. So when a spread gets as high as 14, I kind of say back away from betting a spread and stay away from it, because you're going to want to jump on Denver plus the 14 points, and you're going to feel comfortable. How are they going to lose by 2 touchdowns here? Or how's Kansas City, they're just going to destroy them. You're going to be just too locked in. You're going to be just too locked in on that 14-point spread. So just go with the over-under and be satisfied with that. So I have a stay away on the spread, but a middle, I kind of almost put in the best bet is that game going over 51 points. And 51 is not that high of an over. 54 would be, but I think they'll even hit that. So going to the Minnesota-Jacksonville, I like the over 52 points. I've said it in the past, even though Jacksonville is a bad team, it's more because of their defense. They have the ability to score a lot of points. So Jacksonville in their last 5 have scored 25 versus the Browns, only 3 versus Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh is a good team. They were able to muster up 20 points versus Green Bay, 25 versus Houston, and 29 versus Los Angeles Chargers. So the Jacksonville's problem is their defense. They can score, and they find a way to score. Minnesota, on the other hand, is winning some pretty close games here. Carolina versus Carolina, 28-27. They lost to Dallas, 31-28. They beat Chicago, 19-13. Detroit, 34-20. And Green Bay, 28-22. So I think both these teams have the ability of putting up a lot of good points. Minnesota does have the better defense. I feel strongly that Minnesota is going to win this game, so don't go betting on the money line Jacksonville and hopefully you get lucky. That's just not going to happen there. It's a 1-10 team. So Minnesota wins this game. I like the over, and I like the minus 9.5, kinda. But like I said, Jacksonville does have the ability to score a lot of points. So I actually think your better bet is go with the over and then take Jacksonville plus the 9.5. I think that's where you get your stronger money. If you don't like the spread, once again, it's a big spread, and you want to immediately think, oh, Jacksonville is going to keep it within 9.5. It's not completely a horrible bet, but I like the over 52. That's kind of a low over for these two teams. Then kind of going into my stay away games. Stay away with Detroit and Chicago. Chicago is just falling apart at the seams here. Matt Nagy almost sounds like he's blaming the players. So the coaching staff is falling apart. Matt Nagy has given Bill Lazor the play calling. I feel like he's kind of just given up on this. He knows he's going to get fired at the end of the year. I would actually put a bet on that. If there was a way to bet on who's going to get fired by the end of the year, we're going to go with Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, in my opinion. Chicago's defense is a good defense. I'm going to pick Detroit to win it only because Chicago is falling away at the seams. Los Angeles Rams versus Arizona, I put that as a stay away because these teams are just way too similar. Los Angeles Rams are scoring 23 points average per game. The Arizona Cardinals 27, and the defenses, the Rams are letting teams score 19 and Arizona 23. However, if I kind of go down to the last 5, you would immediately think the Rams would beat San Francisco? No. You would think they would beat Minnesota? No. But all of a sudden the Rams beat Tampa Bay, Seattle. I expect them to beat Chicago. So where are they on that? Then again, looking over at Arizona, New England, they lost. They lost to Seattle, but then they beat Buffalo and they beat Seattle earlier this year. So it's kind of like streaky wins and streaky losses. You're not really sure who's going to win, who's going to lose. And every time I think I got them figured out, it's kind of like, you're wrong. So I don't like betting on Los Angeles or Arizona too strongly. For a while, I was on Arizona's bandwagon, and then they'll disappoint you with some loss versus New England, where it's like, I thought New England wasn't doing that good this year. But then they'll beat Buffalo, and then they'll beat Seattle. So what's going on? And I feel the same way about the Rams. They sealed some of my faith versus Tampa Bay. They beat Seattle, and then they lose to San Francisco without Jimmy Garoppolo. So it's like, what is going on? They lose to Miami. It's like, are you a good team? Are you a bad team? I feel the same way about both teams. If I had to make a bet here, I'm going to throw out, because the Rams have a slightly better defense, I'm going to take the Rams. Coin flip. Who really knows? Washington versus Pittsburgh, I kind of put that as a stay-away game. Why did I put that as a stay-away game? I put the Washington versus Pittsburgh as a stay-away game mainly because the Pittsburgh-Baltimore game hasn't quite finished up when I was recording this, and I don't really know. I didn't have enough info on it, so I didn't want to put that game even on there. Buffalo versus 49ers. I put that as stay-away because I have no feel on how either of these teams really play. I never really get a chance to watch Buffalo or 49ers, and I don't know. 49ers without Jimmy Garoppolo, I thought was just going to completely fall apart, and for some reason they beat the Rams. They lose to New Orleans, they lose to Green Bay, they lose to Seattle. And I was thinking, they beat the Rams. They would lose to the Rams like really easily. And all of a sudden, they win a game. Buffalo, like I keep thinking they're a good team, and they are. And I almost want them to be a bad team. It's just, I'm not used to them being a good team, and I don't want to bet on them. They beat Seattle, they beat New England, they beat the Jets. New England's a bad team. The Jets are a bad team. They beat the Chargers. I would pick Buffalo to win, though. If you really just want me to pick something, I'd pick Buffalo to win. But I get no feel off of this game. Buffalo versus 49ers. I don't know. And I don't like to say I don't know, but that's just kind of how I feel about it. Anyways, so that's kind of the games of this week. Hopefully you hear something from my podcast that you like. I don't really like just giving you non-answers, but that's why I put them on stayaways. If I don't feel comfortable with it, if I don't like it, I'm not gonna just say something just to kind of make it sound good. I'm gonna give you my real feeling, my real opinion about it. So if I don't report on a game, that's sometimes why I don't like it. I don't like the game, and I don't want to really steer you in the wrong direction, which would kind of be just dishonest of me. So anyways, once again, you can get me at Twitter, betting_home87. TikTok, I'm going to try to do a TikTok each week, just kind of giving you my best bets of the week. YouTube, I'm still going to just keep doing I'm going to call it a raw edit until I completely figure out how to polish up YouTube videos. It's not my strong point. All the podcast download sites, betting from home. And, so that's going to be me, Dave Jones, Week 13 of the NFL, signing off. Good night and good luck.